Kaixo, eta ongi etorri Prentsaurreko honetara. Muy buenas.
Good morning and welcome to the press conference this morning. We have with us most of the cast, the ODISEA, La ODISEA de los GILES, heroic losers in the official section. We've got Simeon de Santiago, Matthias Dorstegen, and Ricardo Darín, actor, Sebastián Borenstein, director, Chino Darín, actor, Reese Brandoni, actor, and Federico Posternak, producer. So, as of now, you can ask your questions.
Buenos días a todos.
Hi. Congratulations for the film. I'd like to ask the construction of the characters, apart from the influence by Eduardo and the script itself, to what extent the influence and experience lived by each one of you due to the Corralito were important for you, and also for Ricardo and Chino, what was it like to get involved in the production of the film also? Thank you.
Bueno, empiezo así, vamos rápido.
I'll start so we can go quickly. No, the truth is, thank you very much for the question, but there wasn't a great need of getting into the past because the memories of what happened in 2001 wasn't too researched in the past, is a bit, well, recorded into our DNA, each and every one of us. And as regards what it was like to work together, it was fabulous. It's great. I wish all of the experience we can, fathers and children, was similar to ours, for example. I don't know whether I agree, because I must make it a no, the truth, it was a great experience. It was very demanding because of the double role, but the truth is we had the best cast and crew in front and behind the camera, and the production of GILES obviously was very good. So therefore it was an odyssey, the shooting of the film, because it was complex, but it was very pleasant at the same time. What I can say is that the Corralito episode took place many years ago. The truth was that it was an episode which was quite traumatic for the Argentinian society. But some of us have got it resolved, others not so much. Some people were hindered more than others, but it forms part of the history that we've had to live through in Argentina. And we still have to live through with other things. Who knows what might happen? And as regards production, I've made several films, but it's the first time that I've got two producers, which it's a complication that I never thought I was going to go through, but it all went very happily. So I've had a relationship with both of them, a professional relationship for many years with well-known, and I remember this guy when he was younger. He's not so young anymore. He's a big man now, and they behaved like the work colleagues they are. That's the best thing about them. What I would like to say is, I don't have much more to add to what has just been said, beyond just to tell you that the film that you've seen has had phenomenal production support, which very few times you can see it in our cinema or our film making with a very high level or a very high standard. And the experience of working with all of these people around me is not something completely new. With Ricardo, we've already made two films, Capitan Koblik and Chinese Takeaway, and with Chino, it's been a great experience working with him. I worked many years with my father as well, and he was a comedian, Pato Wardes. I trained a lot by his side, so therefore seeing them work together in the father and son role as co-lead and producers as well, which was a revival of the best thing that happened in my career as well. So therefore It was an experience which was a lot of fun, very intense, and unforgettable, at least on my behalf. A couple of questions from Brazil. Excuse my mixture between Spanish and Portuguese. The first question for Sebastián. I'd like to know, understand the process of how you constructed a script, which is a surprising script. How did you build it, and whether there's any space for improvisation? The second question for Darin. All the people in Brazil love you. It's important for you to know that, and I do as well. And a question. I think we in Brazil, we've learned a lot about Argentina through your films. I would like to know, what's the Argentina that's portrayed in this film, and how much of this Argentina is different of the film that we have nowadays, of the Argentina that we have nowadays, better said. Thank you very much. Let's start the first thing that you asked me, and that is, it's always complex to adapt a novel to film, and because especially a novel which is so successful and with so much repercussion. That's a significant challenge. Of everything that it meant to make this film, the longest process was adapting the novel. We took a long time, first of all, to choose what things were left in and which ones weren't of the novel, because we couldn't put everything in, because it would have been a 5-hour film. And once we've selected the material with which we were going to use, to see how to structure it cinematographically, because the novel, the characters in the novel, don't tell or reveal to the reader what plan they implement. It's a surprise at the end. And we did all the contrary. We put the plan up front and in the foreground, and then see the spectators with the suspense, whether they're going to achieve it and how they're going to overcome the hurdles they find on their way. And then to construct those scenes that didn't exist in the novel, but were absolutely key for a visual narrative dynamics as to sustain certain mechanisms of this type of genre that we use to work upon this film. The truth is, it's been a mixture of genres, from the high suspense, drama, comedy. That is to say, there's a range of different genres that we tried to give at each time a moment in the story its full potential. I think I've answered your question about the script. As regards your first thing that you said, I know it, and thank you very much. How kind that I know the people in Brazil have for me. I know that there is an enormous link between our peoples beyond our sports rivalry, which is marvelous sports rivalry, by the way. But as regards to the second part of your question, what you asked about whether Argentina portrayed in this film or designed in this film, what's the relationship has with today's Argentina? Well, the Argentina is the same. The countries construct over time. We've got a great gymnastics of going through crises and overcoming them and surviving and be reborn again. Who knows? That may be our main feature or characteristic. That is, say, to always be reborn, rebirth, shall we say. Nevertheless, we're a people with a lot of hope. We're hoping to learn from the errors that we've made in the past, if we've made them, and to be able to advance. But it'd be to go further in depth and analyze realities and comparisons, it would take a lot of time between what happened 20 years ago and today. But personally, I'm very hopeful that once again, we're going to overcome what's happening now. And I hope things will go well with the help of Brazil, of course. Congratulations for the film. I would like to, the question as regards to the script or screenplay, a change in the novel is the protagonism of women in this film. And for example, we have Carmen and Lydia takes a shotgun and so on. But the question is as follows: at what time in the process you made that change. Did you make that change? And also, and I'm not too sure, as a director or also as producers, you believe that nowadays in a group or a gang of robbers, there's got to be women for a film to be commercial. There's got to be the same amount of women robbers as men robbers. That's what the whole world is, equal opportunities. That's what we're fighting for in every job. Yes, there's part of the question which has already been well answered. And as regards to when did that occur or arise, well, when we finished reading the script, we're very self-critical. I don't know whether it was a 6th, 7th or 8th version of the script. It wasn't from the outset. We started to feel an imbalance, a gender imbalance, not because of a gender issue, but because we thought to take the Carmen's character, which in the novel is a man, for him to be a woman, helped to construct the story. It wasn't a change because of political correction at all. A woman at the head, being the financier and the key part of the cooperative, and the problems with her son, we thought it would be we liked the way it was between father and son, and from mother to son in this case. That on one hand, and Lydia and the shotgun, for example, this has to do with the fact that she is the mentor of the project. She's the woman that's very difficult to handle in the good and the bad times, and her presence is latent throughout the entire film, because the idea of the cooperative, the idea of the shotgun, for example, had to do with generating an internal rupture in that group. That for there to be dissidence was normally happens when everyone gets together. That didn't exist in the novel, so therefore one thing led to another, really. And also, excuse me, I would like to add something to regards this issue. If you observe it in detail, the three women, the protagonists, because you're missing the character of Florencia, who's the secretary of Mansi, for example, they're very strong and courageous women. And at each time, each one, in their own way, they're the most indicated to support and sustain this group of men. And that we liked that approach as well. It gave it, and if you analyze Carmen's character more than what just Sebastian just described, the importance that she has as a woman in the film, we thought it was very functional to redirect them when their strength comes down. She said, she says, I'm not afraid, and that's what I wanted to say. Yes.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon. First of all, a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. It's a luxury. 3 generations of Argentinian film industry. Canal 9 in Argentina, Entre Rios. My question is, we've got the solidarity, different classes of Argentinians here. Do you believe that the people here in Spain are going to be able to understand or feel identified with something which is so Argentinian? And on the other hand, the term Gil, how would you explain it for the audience who's going to see the film as of the premiere this afternoon? I know that internationally we've always been adjudicated the oligarchs and the chantas, but I want to remind you, but it wasn't our invention, that is to say, because of education. I'm not going to mention any other countries but unfortunately, this is disseminated throughout the planet. They're disseminated throughout the planet. And what you said, the Giles, it's a Spanish, it's an Argentinian word. We've always got how it's going to receive in Spain, using that expression. Spain always receives it with their arms open. And I think that the conflict or the problem that the film addresses in general is immediately understood in any part of the world, not only in Spain, because these types of things, unfortunately, and quite sadly, have happened all over the world. That is to say, the citizen who's run down, who has suffered the rigor of bureaucracy, pay first and then protest later, the having to bow your head and accept rules that have not been discussed in the appropriate manner. This has happened to every citizen in the world at a time. When one feels hassled by structures, we all have that feeling, uncomfortable feeling that at a certain time, once, let's hope the good guys win at the end of the day. Hi, good morning, everyone. I would like to ask Ricardo, the people who follow you from 9 Queens or Nueva Reinas and who trust your films, in this film there are also treason, betrayal, corruption, but would you say that perhaps it's a more human type of film? Well, I think everything is human. Hi, first of all, great to see you. Hello. Everything is human. Everything's in the same bag. The issue is, where do you focus, put your focus on? As it's a group of people, in this case, that are being fooled and they've suffered this situation, as has happened to many people. And it's very good to remind you that what happened and what initiates in 2001, El Corralito in our story, it's not only an economic financial problem, their people went through very tough moments. They've lost, lives were lost, families were changed and modified. People had to go to exile themselves to other places in the world. So therefore, this accumulated sorrow and pain is very large. It's not only economic in nature. I think that as it's a group of people and not only 1 or 2 people, this means that all humanity is much more exposed, and therefore there's a great variety of temperaments and characteristics that each of the characters have as well. I'm not too sure whether what I said was right or not. Hi, over here. I would like to ask you, Ricardo, and the director and whoever wants to answer, for the Abakunin, the references to Abakunin. It's one of the fun things of the film, but it links very close to what Ricardo says, that the losers end up winning, hopefully. And this is like the wish of, well, there's a certain type of revenge, yeah, but a bit harder harsher in that case. Oh, okay. We reset because we're still jet lagged. Bakunin. Bakunin, as you know, is the founder of Anarchy, or one of them, or one of the executors in the post-imperial Russia, Bakunin. And as it's a character who's pseudo-anarchist and anarchist, or Alfonsinist, or who knows what he is, but that goes against or in favor of grabbing the bull by the horns and going over going over institution or any type of rules or regulation. That is to say, to exaggerate this issue and to give an epic air to the event that they decide to undertake. So therefore, it's invoking the father of anarchism. Let's go out there and break everything to pieces. It was exaggerating from a comical point of view. You're clearing up something that wasn't sufficiently answered, that as regards to what GIL means, G-I-L. Let's try to explain this. First of all, we have to clear up that we use the word with a lot of irony, because it's almost as if the characters sort of call themselves GIL, which is naive or gullible. And the best way to sort of give a synonym to GIL in Spain, at least, not in our country, would be a naive or gullible person, the person who trusts everyone, who sees the positive things in life and never believes that he or she can be harmed. That sort of giving in to everything that's positive and never negative would be more or less the description of what we call GIL. This draws my attention because a term which is used in a lot, which is a bit stronger, which is gilipollas, or asshole in Spanish, which I believe that's where GIL came from. But I'm not too sure where else could it have come from. It's more jargon, giles or gil in our case, and that we were asked to explain this. Okay, that's been cleared up. And Bakunin, I've already said it, like for example, all of us that are here, we're all giles, we're all gullible. The citizens of the world in general, we're all giles. That is to say, we always trust everyone. We're all gullible. Okay, good morning. Hi, how are you? I would like to, the director and to all of you, the aesthetic decision that you've made, for example, quite often in films, actors are much more beautiful than normal run-of-the-mill people. And even Chino looks... Well, I don't want to explain what he says there, but could you talk about that? He looks ugly. Is that what you're saying? Well, you didn't take full advantage of his looks. We're going to have a hand-to-hand. You and I, we're going to have... No, he looks very good. But it was that, but you made that decision aesthetically of making it a film that visually is also a bit dark and a bit dirty, shall we say. Sorry. Excuse me. I don't see that the film is neither dark nor dirty, but that's my opinion. I'm not too sure. Well, I don't agree with you because the film, but nevertheless, we don't need to come to an agreement. It's a film which is very luminous, perhaps. I don't know, when maybe the lamp, the lighting was a bit running out of electricity. It was a bit darker. That's why perhaps it happens in here, but it's not going to happen in this afternoon's projection. What you're going to see today is a film which is very similar to what I filmed, because, well, as a director, and when I work with Raul Opero, my DOP, director of photography, that I've always worked with, we propose making a film with all of the color of the place where we stopped to film, and that which is in the countryside with all the greens, and to capture in a natural way the images. When it's sunny, when it's cloudy. So therefore, the aesthetic decision was to make a very light and bright, sort of luminous and bright film. And I think we've managed to achieve it, and you can see it. In any case, everyone's got the freedom of seeing it whichever way they want. Well, I don't think it's too dark beyond the content matter, which obviously has got its ups and downs. Sorry, we can't hear this girl now without a microphone. Well, the idea of the characters has to do with that realism, with darker, shall we say, worn out skin. But these are people who live out outside in a gas station or working in the country. They have a certain color in their skin which is a bit worn out, more exposed to the sun. So therefore, that's one of the pillars of the makeup and the idea. Then to try to portray the people from those towns, how they dressed, simple people, how they dressed at that time, people who dress without worrying, but just grabs anything from their wardrobe, people that are more rural to a certain extent. Hi. I have two questions. The first refers to, it seems very complicated to me to make a comedy in which which happens, that's funny at the same time, but it's got a great script, because quite often we see comedies that can be very funny, but not necessarily have got a good script, and comedies that have got a good script, but not necessarily make you laugh too much. My first question is, how do you blend these two things in this film? And then the second question was for Ricardo. I'd like to ask you, what are your references in the comedy genre, and whether any have influenced you preparing the role for this film? As regards to your first question, the truth is, instead of making a comedy, what we proposed was to tell a story which has a very dramatic background context, but our premise, we set up a premise is where they exploit the possibility if there's any place where you could fit in comedy. So that's why the story is modulated that way. It goes through different moments, emotionally speaking. How do you manage to do that? Well, Well, I wouldn't be able to. I don't know how to explain it to you. I do it. One does it. I was brought up telling stories in drama and comedy. Chinese Takeaway has some of that, and other films of mine. This is something that I like to do, and it comes out naturally. There's no formula to tell you along. It works. When I see the possibility for there to be comedy and humor, where we all see that possibility, we jump on the bandwagon right away. And if I can add anything, I think it's got to do with what you say, that the content and the context is dramatic. And that's the rail upon which the story travels. And my feeling is the search for comedy as a premise makes that scaffolding upon which the characters and the stories move loses shape. What Sebastian does is very well is to establish the conflict and what are the real conflict of the film beyond the humoristic moments. These are little pearls that emerge that he manages to exploit. Chino is saying what's key for comedy. They say the actors aren't looking for humor. The actors are not trying to be funny or trying to make anyone laugh. Not only for this film, but that is one of the keys of a good comedy, I believe. And in any case, I would like to add that Sebastian Borenstein is a young man. He's filmed, but he has a lot of experience, but he's Argentinian. And we Argentinians have a tradition from what we call a small genre which is the grotesque genre, which is a style of expression that it must be in his DNA, because his father probably told him, that is to say, of laughing and the next moment to be on the verge of crying. This is something that belongs to us almost culturally, not only as a film director, but also as citizens in Argentina. In any case, if you're interested in that duality that takes place, as you mentioned, I recommend you see films of Italian neorealism, but I could almost tell you that happens par excellence. Yes, Italian comedy in general, humor, when it emerges from dramatic situations, first of all, is much more surprising, and it's worked out on another way. It also works as something like a balm, because you go under a certain pain that takes place, and those little sparks or emergences of those sparks that almost called humoristic is like a balm that calms things down, and as a spectator it allows you to breathe again. And what you said, I didn't base no references. We set up a work group really, where we've all tried to give our impressions. We've discussed a lot. We've worked for a long time, quite fortunately, and this is very rich when you come to shoot the film, because you've already worked together, and we trusted our group, the cast, because many heads rowing in the same direction generates, quite fortunately, in some cases, normally achieves positive results. Hi, I'm over here. I would like to ask about the characters. I think they were really, really nice. I think whether have you liked, what's your favorite character in the film? I personally, I'm in love with each and every one of the characters. I'm very endeared, however, because of several reasons, with the Gomez brothers, because I think it happens to all of us, and also you, I imagine, and I think Peleaponio Medina. But for example, each of the characters, I believe, nevertheless, has a very defined profile, very particular profile, and one is empathic to all of them, has empathy for all of it. It doesn't matter which one you've fallen in love with most. I think one of the good things that we managed to achieve in that sense is that each character has his or her own story, has his or her own color, and it forms part of a larger symphony, shall we say. If anyone wants to add anything, yes. The truth is, one of the things that impacted us from the beginning when we were in touch with the novel from which this story emerges is all the multiple colors that happens in this unthought of meeting between people from a town that perhaps apart from several cases don't even know each other. They start beginning to learn and know each other, and it ends up being affected by the same issue, and they are almost unaware and they are obliged unconsciously to set up a group and become a group. That plurality of textures and colors of each of the characters that start to work when the story needs them. Personally, that was a great impact for me. It had a big repercussion for me from the outset. Hi, good morning. Welcome to the San Sebastian International Film Festival. 2 questions for Ricardo Darín in this case. The first is, as regards to what you talked about, the term GIL, the festival. In the press documentation, GIL is those people who were naive when they were fooled by powerful people. And so I remember this summer I had the good luck of meeting 2 young girls from Argentina, and I asked them about the term, and they said it's between boludo and tarado. Boludo, for example, was an endearing expression. My question has to do, jerk, for example, would be the translation. How much is it, how could you, of the losers, for example, how much of it is of GIL is there in them? And then Argentina, as one of my, is always present here. One of the first festivals I came here, I'm not too sure whether it inaugurated the film. Martinache and Federico Lupi was here, which gave a brief summary of the Argentinian society. And this year, there's a film upon the Nesman case, for example, along with the Corralito, has been one of the issues that has concerned the Argentinian society. Could you please give us how Argentina is going now, which are on the verge of a second Corralito? That's all. Thank you very much. Sorry, we should not forget that a film can portray something or part of society. That doesn't mean that it's the entire society, because I think it would be imprudent to believe that a film can portray a whole community or a society. And I'm sure Martinache was the film that you saw back then, another characteristic, a film of another nature or different other characteristics. And then, yeah, the claim of the losers in this case, yes, the feeling is what we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, or this press conference. The feeling is that there exists a possibility of managing, as the character of Veto Brandoni says, he says, finally, a shot in favor of justice in a discussion between each of the characters. That feeling of claim or reivindicating or repair, we could say, which is that we have to feel vis-a-vis injustice, is quite present in Argentinian films at present, and I think it's present in the films of many other countries as well, because we find out every day of different aspects and things and situation and conflicts that take place and where people are affected. And quite often we have to accept things as they are, and there's no possibility of seeking and achieving revenge. That's one thing, but I insist, and I go back to what I said initially, it would be very pretentious to try and demonstrate an entire community. These are compartmentalized. There's something that I want to add. You've got to see the story as an approach, as if it were a fable, because at the end of the day, these things in real life don't take place. Generally, people don't reivindicate their situations in real life. We've got time for one final question over here, please. Hi, congratulations for the film. I think that the audience is going to love it. And the actors in particular, I think all of you are fantastic. When you adapted the script, did you have these actors in mind, or it came from a subsequent audition? In the case of Luis Brandoni, how did you get into the project? Thank you. No, that's all. Thank you. In reality, when we started to work, father and son was already programmed, and then the actors started to emerge as we got together and in conclave, and we imagined who we saw, and we imagined unanimously. We were quite fortunate that it's not something that happens frequently. I would almost say almost all of the roles in this film, we've managed to achieve the actors that we wanted. And that's not always easy due to agenda reasons and commitments and what have you, but we were very fortunate. Beto, how did you become? Well, they gave me a call. That's how I participated. They gave me a call on the phone. No, I ignored that. I didn't know that they'd been working on this project for 4 or 5 years, and I called. Sebastian called me up on the phone, and he said he wanted me to portray a character, and this made me feel very happy, because of professional reasons, because of personal reasons, because of affective reasons. I was very close to his father, I continued to remember quite a lot, and that's all. And the fact that Ricardo was there with his son, an author who I had represented in a play, the author of the book in a play. It was a lot of luck and I accepted very pleasantly. And I think we filmed it with a lot of work. This film, 9 weeks, the shooting of the film in diverse and very diverse weather conditions. I didn't get the worst ones, which was the night rain. I was lucky to get out of that one. That's another term that we've got to clear out. What is zafar, or to get out of it? But for me, it was very pleasurable and lucky to have been called to form part of this film. Much more when one knows that the film worked, it came out of God. When they call you up, they say, well, let's see what happens. But the best thing possible that could happen, I think. And it's very good that Matias said, when we were thinking about the antagonist of all of these people, and we were thinking and thinking, and we didn't know, and Matias said, open your minds, go beyond Argentina. And we said, Andres Parra, because we admired this Colombian very much with the characters that he'd been portraying. I'm not too sure whether you saw El Patrón del Mal. In the series Pablo Escobar, and there's another series called the Comandante, and he plays Hugo Chavez. He's chameleonic in his physical appearance, his voice, his accent, and at the present moment he's making a film in Chile with a Chilean accent, and he does a great job. It's called Presidente. It's an Amazon series upon football. So, and he completed this Brancaleone sort of like armada that we went out to play this game. We premiered in Colombia in October with a lot of expectations. There's something that I would compliment what you were talking about, what they asked Beto about, how he formed part of the cast due to effective reasons and emotionally or blood lines. We set up a cast that we felt as if we were a family because of many reasons. And that's how we started to feel throughout the shooting of the film, prior and subsequently to the shooting of the film. We always felt something that doesn't always take place, because we actors, we come in and out of a project, and then we leave it. But in this case, we were all together as a group. The group was maintained quite united and very pending, seeing all the circumstances that took place, and that talks very well about how the entire shooting of the process was very intense, but very family-like and also intense. Unfortunately, we have no time for more questions. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.